Hi, everyone. Welcome to Adapt and Root. I'm Karina Snow. I am so glad you're here. This information is so important to me, and it's been my world for the last, more than 10 years now. And I'm just so excited to share this with you today. So we are going to dive right in. I just want to read you this little quote first from Florence Shinn. So this is in the essence, the energy of raising our vibration when it comes to health and wellness. She says, "Health and happiness go hand in hand. Ill health is caused by inharmony. A teacher never asks a student, 'What is the matter with you?' I say, 'Who is the matter with you?' As long as anyone can cause you to be angry, resentful, irritable, sad, etc., a harmful reaction takes place in the cells of your body, producing some sort of disease." So I'm not reading this to scare you. I am saying these words because I want you to bring in positivity and ease into your thoughts when it comes to your health. And if you haven't been doing that, don't have to judge yourself for it. Be kind to yourself, mother yourself, but stop. Okay. So let's do an exercise. You have a notebook and a pen. What I'd like you to do is to write down everything that relaxes you, everything that makes you happy, content, joyful, and at peace. And you can pause the video here and we'll come back in a moment. Okay. So, how did that feel? How does it feel when you read over these examples? What do you notice when you see your life through this lens? Imagine what it's like to see yourself through this lens more often. So I want you to do this. This is so important for shifting your mindset around health and wellness and happiness. How can you add 3 things into your life every single day that are on this list without causing more stress in your life? Maybe it's laying in a hammock for 10 minutes. That's one of mine. Maybe it's cuddling with one of your pets or one of your children. Maybe it's calling an old friend on the phone. Maybe it's watching a movie with your partner. Maybe it's having a cup of tea or coffee in the morning by yourself. Any of these things count. Anything that makes you feel happier and more at ease and more joyful, whether it's hula hooping or swimming or dancing in your underwear, counts. All of this raises your vibration and allows for this healing energy to work in your body. Okay. I'm going to put the woo-woo aside for a minute. And we're going to move into immunity. I want to talk about natural supplementation. And today we're going to talk about vitamin D, and I'm going to talk about iron. And I'm not going to get sciencey. I'm just going to go real big, broad brushstrokes here. If you want to research D and iron on your own, be my guest. I'm not going to dig in here, okay? So we are at the apex of summer, right? We just passed the solstice here, and a lot of people are not really thinking about building their immunity. It doesn't usually come into our minds until the fall. But the thing is that this is really the best time. And the reason for that is that it actually takes several months for our body to shift over to take on these new practices, foods, herbs, supplements, self-care practices. It takes a while for our body to, it's like a recalibration that's happening. And so this is a great time to begin. And since we're in summer, let's talk about vitamin D. Let's talk about sunshine. So and I'm going to talk about this from a Chinese medicine perspective also. So raising vitamin D levels is a really great way to build immunity. And you can absolutely do this through supplementation, and you probably need to in the other months. But in the summer, try to do it naturally through the sun. And so this might sound a little counterintuitive to skin cancer warnings. And what I like to have people do is to do short bursts of as full body exposure as you can in the sun, especially your midsection. So belly and back are really great to get exposure to the sun. And I'll talk about that why from our Chinese medicine perspective too. And so you can do like 15-minute increments. If you're super pale, that might be a little bit too much. You can also use like a light sunscreen if you just burn super, super easily. But what I like to have people do is to try not to use sunscreen all the time, and instead use like a rash guard or a sun shirt. I'm laughing because I just purchased something. They're called swim pants. We'll see how those work. But then it's just a nice way to hop out of the lake or the ocean and not have to always put on sunscreen, which just tends to block everything out. But be able to be exposed for 15 minutes and then put on your layer. You get this. I don't need to talk anymore about this. And then, so in Chinese medicine, we talk about exposing the abdomen and the back to the sun. And that is a really effective way to increase the energy of the kidney and actually the adrenals. And this will make you feel more energized. Even if you do this like once a day for a few days, you'll probably notice a difference. Okay. Okay, so that's all I have to say about sunshine. Again, if you want to, if your levels are really low, even through the summer, and you want to supplement also, I like a liquid version. You can get 1,000 IUs in vitamin D, and that's the one that I'll use through the other months and what I give to my children and everybody else in my family also. Okay, let's talk about iron and blood for a minute. So when you're gonna start to kind of get this, and I'm not gonna say like, this is from a Chinese medicine perspective every single time, it's gonna get super annoying, but you'll start to kind of tap into when I'm talking from that perspective. When I say things like blood deficiency, when I'm using words like damp or liver wind, just know that we're talking about Asian medicine there. And if you have any questions about that, if you want to dig deeper, if you have specific things you want to know about that, just hit me up in the group and tag me. And I am so happy to do a short video on it. I don't want to overwhelm you. So iron is a really effective way of boosting immunity. I have my clients and my family, when they feel like they're starting to get sick, I have them take iron, vitamin D, vitamin C, and calcium, actually. I have them take all those things. And that's actually a great protocol if you don't want to take herbs. I remember when I was pregnant, like early pregnancy, and I didn't really want to take a lot of herbs during that first trimester, I would just supplement when I felt like I was getting sick, and it was super effective. So iron is great for boosting immunity. You can definitely supplement with iron. Couple of things you should know. So iron supplementation really needs vitamin C attached with it, and good supplements, and I'm going to tell you which ones are good, will have it all wrapped in. If it doesn't, it really tends to cause constipation also. And in general, iron supplementation can cause you to get constipated. So just be really aware of that. But let's talk about iron from medicinal food sources first. So, okay. So this is one of my favorite realms of working with food and people because I just think these foods are so delicious. So, and if you listen to this list and you're like, ew, gross, I'm sorry. But okay, I'm gonna backtrack for just a second. I just realized I wanted to talk about something else. So I'm gonna talk about. So these foods are rich in iron, but I'm really thinking about it from a blood building perspective. And so I think something important to realize when we're going in between these two worlds of like Chinese medicine, Western medicine, is that Western medicine it's not as specific as Chinese medicine yet. I do think they will get there, and I'm seeing improvements, but they're not there yet. And so someone who's blood deficient doesn't necessarily have a diagnosis of low iron or anemia, but they are blood deficient. And some of the symptoms of blood deficiency, and again, this is pretty common, and it's very common in women, and this is kind of why I'm starting here. And it's also just very, very helpful for building your immunity and also just making you feel better. So I'm going to tell you some of the symptoms here. So typical blood deficient pattern, and again, like not all of these things might show up, but you might have dry eyes, you might have poor memory, you might be dizzy when you stand up, you might be kind of a nervous Nelly. Things with the eyes like eye floaters, dry skin, easily startled is a classic blood deficiency symptom. Scanty or absent periods. And again, not all of these symptoms have to be present for this pattern. Your blood work might show up as you being anemic, but not necessarily. You know, again, Chinese medicine sees patterns not only in more detail, but it sees them a lot sooner than Western medicine can see them. So again, can be kind of a blessing and a curse. I will see things in my clients that are undiagnosed, and that can lead to something else. And so this is why this is such strong preventive medicine. So let's talk about how to build your iron and build your blood. Just think of these two simultaneously right now. Okay. So some of these are meat recommendations, and I'll just say if you are a vegetarian, there's a couple of ways to go. You know, you can keep being vegetarian, and you can eat a lot of I'll talk about some like beans and legumes and seeds. Those are all blood building. They're just not the quick and dirty of the red meat. Like if you are really blood deficient, and maybe if you're also showing up as anemic, and, say you also are, maybe you're trying to get pregnant, or you're postpartum, doing something like shifting your perspective and using meat medicinally is a really nice way to kind of bridge that gap. So I was vegan for a couple years before I started trying to get pregnant with our first. And I was very blood deficient. My system does really well with meat. And so the way that I started to heal that, because I wasn't quite comfortable eating meat yet, was I did medicinal meat once a week. And, for myself, I just noticed such a dramatic response, and I felt so much better immediately that I started eating meat again for my health. Okay, so let's talk about some foods. So beef and lamb are kind of the quick and dirty. Those are the most blood building. Salmon, I would say, is blood building too. Okay, so beef, lamb, and salmon. And again, it doesn't have to be a lot. It's like a serving size as a deck of cards, right? You don't have to like have huge barbecue. Some other blood building meats. I mean, I really like ribs. I find meat on the bone to be far more blood building than a burger. I notice a big difference. If you can tolerate liver, especially if you have some of these symptoms, like these eye symptoms, like floaters and dry eyes, that is liver blood deficiency, straight up. And really, the quickest and the meanest approach is to eat some liver. There used to be this restaurant, it's probably still there, it's in Portland in Oregon, and they only served a couple of things. They served this really delicious poached chicken with like this peanut sauce, and they served chicken livers. And I can't really tolerate cooking them myself. It just makes me gag. But I would eat them about once a week from this little, it was like a food cart turned into a regular restaurant because it was so popular. Oh my gosh. So chicken liver. Okay, some of the vegetarian options. So cherries are super blood building. Dark cherries. Dark foods in general are going to build your blood and have a higher iron content. So there's some other really delicious foods like figs. Dried figs are fine. Dried dates, Turkish apricots. So, you know, some good snacks here could be like some almonds, which are also a little blood building, you know, mixed with some dates or figs or apricots, just to have as like a daily snack. Pumpkin seeds are they have a little bit of iron, slightly blood building. Black sesame seeds are actually an excellent choice. They're a little harder to find. Usually I end up ordering them. And then dark leafy greens are excellent blood tonifiers. They cleanse the blood, they move the blood. So this is great for your liver too. And they build blood. So we're talking dark leafy greens. And these are things like collards, kale, mustard greens, chard, a little bit lesser, and cooked. So what I find when I try to blend these up in a smoothie, I find it creates bloating in my body almost instantly, like my belly just expands. And so I really don't think that they're that digestible. And I have a Vitamix, and I just don't think it's cutting the mustard. We used to have a food cart, and we would massage the kale with salts. Like, so we would strip the kale from the stalk and add salt to it and massage it for like 5 minutes. I think that really does break down the fibers. But again, like, notice what happens in your body if you're getting bloated. Like, it's not really worth it. So what we do, and we grow a ton of kale in our garden, and it's super tender. We just saute it. But what you might want to do, if you're buying it from the grocery store, it's usually a little thicker. Sometimes I strip off the stalks and blanch it and then saute it and add salts and add like tamari or Bragg's and add some fat like a coconut oil. You can add some bacon or sausage, and you can eat like a whole bunch of kale this way easily. Just make sure it's really, really tenderized. Okay. Other things that are blood building are dark berries. Yum. So blueberries, like, not quite so much. Blackberries, yes. Marionberries, yes. I think there's like black currants, maybe harder to find. Those are all amazing. So again, you can have them with a little yogurt, mix them up with some seeds, add them to your porridge, throw them in a smoothie, have them every day. My kids didn't eat vegetables for several years in the beginning, and I don't know, I think some wise person just said, just don't worry about it and just feed them the good things that they will eat. And I really took that to heart. And so they just ate a ton of berries for the first few years until they started to eat vegetables. And the veggies are still a little slow going, but I really think berries have so many nutrients in them. And they're just an excellent, excellent food. Okay, beans, like the darker beans, so like black beans and kidney beans especially are blood building. Quinoa, oats, oats and dates are really nice for a heart blood deficiency. So I hope this isn't getting too confusing. So within the realm of building our blood, there's different organs that can be affected. And if you have like heart palpitations or if you have trouble getting to sleep, you may have some heart blood deficiency. And oats and dates, like porridge with dates, is a really, really excellent meal for that. Quinoa is excellent. We do at our home, we do a quinoa porridge, and this is just so great in the fall, the winter, the early spring. It's tonifying, it's warming, it's nourishing. And so what we do is we start the quinoa first. And so we'll start it and cook it for like 10 minutes, and then we'll add the rolled oats to it because the rolled oats don't take quite as long. And then we cook it for a while, then we add like a whole can of coconut milk. So it's got a ton of fat in it. And then we add things like dried apricots. You know, if it's the winter, it's usually dried fruit, maybe some cooked apples and like walnuts, a bunch of seeds. So it's got a lot of protein in it. Yeah, it's an excellent meal. Eggs are blood building. And then as far as drinks go, I'm going to teach you how to make a nettle tea infusion. You can totally buy, I think like Traditional Medicinals brand has like a good tea bag nettle tea. And you can steep it for 20 minutes. Do like a long steep. You can even put 2 tea bags in like a big mason jar of hot water and just leave it overnight. It's going to be strong in the morning, but it's going to be like a good medicinal dose. You can add some honey or some maple syrup to it if you don't like the flavor. But you can also buy loose nettle, and it's going to be dried. And this is just such a great thing. You can buy like a big bag of it. Look around, or you can buy it from Mountain Rose Herbs. You can usually get nettle from them all year. And you're going to add, I do things in like, scoops. So add like 3 scoops to a big mason jar, just loose. Pour your boiling water over it and leave it for 20 minutes or several hours, and then just strain it off and drink the tea. And again, you could add something that tastes good, like mint. You could add, I think mint is probably your best choice with nettle. I was going to say lemon. And you can definitely add honey. If you have allergies, this is what I would do. Actually, a quick note about allergies. One thing we do is we do strong nettle tea, and we add rooibos, Rooibus. It's that kind of dry, like red tea. We add rooibos to it and a good scoop of raw honey, and do a big jar of that once a day. And it really kicks the allergies. Okay, so blood building foods. There's 2 other drinks that are blood building that I'm thinking of right now. So one is wheatgrass, and maybe a little harder to find these days. If you have a good juice bar near you, you might be able to find wheatgrass. You can make it at home. What I like to have people do who want to get into wheatgrass is you can buy a powdered version of it in natural food stores these days, and you just mix it with a little bit of water, and it's like a strong, not very good tasting green juice. You can also do things like spirulina. There's like grass blends with like barley. Those are all really, really excellent for your blood. They taste kind of strong, so just be aware of that. Excuse me. And lastly, stout and Guinness are actually blood building. When I was nursing Jaden, I was told that having a stout or a Guinness before bed would boost the fat in my milk. So I enjoyed a nice glass during that time. But it's interesting thinking about it. It's probably actually it's building blood. And I mean, milk, like breast milk, it's blood. I mean, in the Chinese medicine sense, when we're talking about blood, it's not just the blood in our veins. It has to do with essence and with qi in our bodies, and that is totally breast milk. Okay. So I want to talk just a little bit about food energetics from a Chinese medicine perspective. And if you love this information and you want more, I have 2 books that I can share with you. So just hit me up, let me know. So if you have not studied Chinese medicine before, this is a completely different way of thinking about food. And there are a ton of parallels to Western holistic nutrition. Lots of crossover, but it's frequently a different language that we're bringing in when we talk about Chinese medicine. So when I talk about food from this perspective, I'm talking about the post-metabolic effect in the body. And so that is what happens after you digest your food. And I'm going to give you a couple examples of this. You might be able to just tap into this feeling, because with some foods, it's so present that you can actually feel the effect in your body. So close your eyes for a second. Think about what it feels like, 20 minutes after you eat a hearty, beefy, salty stew. Okay, now I want you to close your eyes and think about what it feels like 10 or 15 minutes after you drink a cold, iced fruit smoothie. Okay? So with the stew, likely what you tapped into was that you feel warm, you feel content, you feel satisfied. And you might also have more energy a little while after, because it's tonifying to your kidneys and your adrenals. After the smoothie, you might feel like you have more energy in the short term, and you might have less energy an hour or so later. You might also need to use the bathroom. Your abdomen might feel cooler. Okay? So in Chinese medicine, we would say that something like a stew, especially like a meat stew, is warming to the body. It's tonifying, it's warming, it is increases your kidney yang function of the body. Something like a smoothie would be cool or cold. It can be nurturing to your yin, but its predominant essence is that it is cool. And so cooling foods will create a chilled effect on your spleen, which in Chinese medicine is the main digestive organ, and the spleen does not like being cool. So what the tendency for it to happen is that the spleen kind of loses its capacity, and it loses some qi. You might feel like you have loose stools, and you might feel like down the line you have less energy if you have less spleen qi. Okay, let me know if this is making sense. Okay, so I think that's what I want to say just from a Chinese medicine perspective when we're talking about food. I'm going to tap in a little bit here to just a couple holistic Western ways of looking at food and nutrition. And again, this is really for your whole system health. And so it's for your immunity. It is for stress management. And it's to feel more in control and have more energy and be more tonified in your system. And the way I work with and look at food is with a lot of love, a lot of gentleness, and without overthinking it. Okay. So I am just going to give you a couple broad brushstroke tips. It's not a holistic nutrition program, so I'm not going to go way crazy. So the way I like to look at food on the plate is the balanced plate. Super easy. Cut the plate in half. Half of it's vegetables, and then the other half is protein and carb. Right? Easy peasy. So what I would get at here is most of us don't eat enough vegetables. Most of the time, I don't eat enough vegetables. If I get this back into my mind of like, okay, half my plate can be vegetables, it's much easier to load it up. It's much easier to cook more. And the more vegetables that we're able to eat, the more nutrients and minerals are able to get processed in our body. So this is maybe one of the most helpful things you can do in addition to starting to build your blood with those iron and blood building foods. So do the balanced plate, easy peasy. The other experiment that I like to have people do is just try eating twice as many vegetables. It can be cooked or raw, just double whatever you're doing right now. Super fun. Okay, so let's talk about seasonality for a moment because, again, we're in the summer right now. And this is the time to start adapting to the seasons. This is really like the best place to start. And from just looking at this kind of from an energetic perspective, sinking into seasonality is an excellent, excellent way to build your immunity. It's telling your body, I want you to understand what is ripe and ready each and every month. And foods and our body are so intelligent. The foods that are ready at any given time are going to give you what you need. Right? Just think about that for a second. Right? Our bodies are really intelligent, and so is nature. And it's fun. You know, on that enjoyment list, you know, one of the things that's on mine is following fruit. Following fruit. And I live in Vermont. I mean, our season is short, so I extend it. I include the citrus as it gets ready down in Florida. But man, that feeling of those first berries coming in the summer, that is just the most amazing feeling. I went and I bought about $20 worth of strawberries today from our local farm, and there is nothing better. There's nothing better than that fresh berry. It's so incredible. And you just feel, I mean, let's talk about qi for a minute, QI. So in Chinese medicine, we talk a lot about qi. And I feel like maybe I should just explain what I'm talking about here and what qi really is. So, you know, if you Google qi, QI, you're going to get something like life force of our body, and I don't even know what else. But, you know, qi is everything that has capacity to move around us. It is the intent and the movement towards action. And qi is what gives life to everything in the world, to ourselves, to nature. Without qi, we don't have energy, we feel lackluster, our memory fails, we're depressed. And again, this is not no qi, but this is lower qi. We don't have any vivaciousness, right? So just think for a minute about strawberries. And I want you to think about if you've ever gotten one of those strawberries like I got today from the farm, or if you've ever been lucky enough to find wild strawberries. And think about what that strawberry tastes like in your mouth. It's alive, right? There's so much there. Okay, now I want you to think about going to the grocery store and buying a conventional strawberry in February. Okay, chi, no chi. That's all I'm going to say. Seasonality. Seasonality is fun, right? It's great. Again, like I live in a place that is super cold for 6 months out of the year, but we start growing microgreens in March. You could probably even start them earlier. We'll probably start them in the winter with a lamp next year. You can grow microgreens are amazing during the winter. They have so many nutrients. They're easy to grow. They're fun to do with kids. I'll do a video on them. So we start on microgreens, and then in the garden and in the markets, you can start getting like mescaline, arugula mix pretty darn early, like usually in March. That stuff will come in, and just eat a ton of that. Those early kale leaves are really delicious, super tender. Broccoli rabe comes up. Those like little broccoli rabes, those are so good. So all of those dark green leafy veggies, that's where it kind of starts. And then you start getting in some of your beets, radishes, carrots, snow peas, snap peas, new potatoes a little bit later, right? So seasonality, I think about it as just paying attention. Just pay attention. If you can grow even a small garden box at your house, do that, because it taps you into where nature's at. And it gives you a lot of this information just so naturally. Okay, so I'm going to give you some suggestions for foods in our handout here. And these are just like ideas, kind of broad brushstrokes for really nice blood building foods. I'm not going to go over them here, but these are really tasty. If you're vegetarian, strict vegetarian, and you want more veggie options that are blood building, just hit me up and tag me in the Facebook group, and I will download some of those ideas to you too. Okay, so again, this week you are raising your vibration. We are bringing in healing, flowing, positive health vibrations into your body. Okay. You're going to take about 30 minutes this week and do the journaling exercises. You're going to do this happiness, relaxing question, and you're going to breathe into how that feels in your body. And that feeling, that is the gold that I want you to hang onto. Because to start to lower your stress, this is where we are beginning, right here. Okay, bringing in more of the things you love. It's not about taking a pill. Okay, I love herbs, I love supplements, but honestly, like lately, the things that are making the biggest, hugest impact in my own life and my clients' life is the belief shift. And so with the stress response piece of this program, we're gonna focus on that. And I will give you some herbs and I will give you some supplements, but sweetie, they got nothing on your mind. And once you get it, you're gonna get it. And once that hits home, you're gonna be like, holy fuck. It's big. So please don't believe everything you think. Okay. I just want to give you one more thing. Oh no, I already told you about the nettle tea. Okay. Okay, so you have some homework. You're going to look over these foods. You're going to eat more veggies. These things are going to seem super, super easy. Okay? And I want you to fight that urge to like roll your eyes and then not do it, because people love to do that. Okay? I know this. I've been doing this for like 10 years now. And what people say over and over again, they're like, I want more. I'm like, but you didn't do this. You didn't drink more water. Okay, so don't be like those people. Do your work. Do these simple things. Start to notice how food feels in your body. Okay. Okay, that's it for now. I'm going to show you these two awesome books. This is more of like deep dive into Chinese medicine. This is Deverick Leggett. This is Recipes for Self-Healing. So if you're way into this idea of Chinese medicine, food, energetics, I think this book is still in print. It's awesome and it's super, it's fun. It's not lofty. And he has one other book too. Okay, goodbye everybody. Good night.